guys, and welcome to Branding Juice. Now, this is going to consist of a couple videos for each section. Make sure you have your pen and paper ready for lots and lots of jotting down, and I will just be spitting a whole bunch of information out all at once. So if you don't get it, you can always record, reverse, and kind of see what did you miss. Also, another thing, check out on the bottom, you'll see you can email me at branding@fashionisabusiness.com if you have any questions about anything particular that I'm talking about and Branding Juice. It's super important to understand that the examples that I give you are based on lots of different scenarios. So maybe it might not be for your brand or your business, but you can always email me because I can tell you how we can cultivate that into your brand and your business. So get ready and let's get to squeezing this Branding Juice. Again, this is just the beginning of Branding Juice, the 8-week intensive. So every single week you will have a different subject, and every single week you will definitely be able to dive in and try to test it with your brand. All right, here we go. Hey, all right, let's get started. So, reinventing the fashion brand, your fashion brand, or reinventing what branding is all about. In the basics. So we're going to start in the basics. Now, if you've been working with me or you haven't been working with me, or if you've taken my boot camps in the past or any of my courses, I practice target market is the most important thing in history of business. If you don't know who your girl is or who your guy is, it's going to be super hard for you to even find out who your customers and how to sell to them and how to even give them the access to your products or services. So reinventing the basics is key. Now, this is a two-part video. So the first one, we're going to talk about the birth of potential customers, and the second video is going to be the art of consumer behavior. Now let me just give you a little back end of why the reinventing the basics is super important. As you can see, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and all these social medias, they're not going anywhere. They're absolutely not going anywhere. But how can you stay on top of the trends and do something differently? Again, if you've done business with me or you worked with me, you know that I like to do the total opposite. Now, when I was selling Favela Designs for wholesale, it was super important for me to understand that since I was in a really dominated part of our niche of fashion, I was doing resort. And so there's so many people, so many designers trying to sell their product wholesale to resorts. It can be, hotels, regular resorts. It can even be regular retailers. So my key thing was always reinventing the basics. And I noticed that every time I kept on reinventing who my target market was, I was able to use those essential tools to really sell my brand. Now, as you know, my wife and I opened up an apothecary, and there's so many different things that's different from the fashion industry. But like I said, when one person is doing one thing, you have to do the opposite. And so what Branding Juice is going to really be talking about in this is about reinventing the basics to make it you. You constantly have to change your marketing strategies and constantly have to change how do you communicate with your customer. So let's get started. Part 1. Here we go. Birth of potential customers. Write that down. The birth of potential customers. So I like to call this where you have numerous of different categories for your customer. So you have your ideal customer who is definitely going to go ahead and buy from you. You know they're going to buy from you because they buy from you, or you know that they love your stuff because they always shop for similar products like yours. That's at the end of the spectrum. Then you have the other spectrum, which is people who are really trying to get into it. So I'll give you an example for fitness. People are trying to get healthy and they're trying to get back to workout and they want to feel really confident. So they want to try to go shopping for some workout wear. So we have the person here that's always shopping for workout wear because it's like they wear it all the time. I.e., I love to wear my workout wear even just to do errands. And then there's some people that are starting to work out on their journey and they want to get comfortable and they're starting to shop around those starters. But what happens to the middle section here? This is called the gap peeps. Yep, write that down. The gap peeps. So we're going to focus on this gap because these are potential customers that we have not marketed to. So in marketing and multi-level marketing, or even in corporate America marketing, they always say focus on your customers that buys from you all the time, and focus on the customers that, are intrigued and want to try you out. But what happens to the gap customers? The customers right in the middle, the potential customers in the middle. I'll give you an example. So there's a brand that sells maternity wear, right? We all know that maternity wear is a specialty niche. That means that sometimes women want to actually purchase maternity wear because they feel comfortable and they want to go through this journey. But now the industry is happening that lots of other people are wearing maternity wear, and not just when you are actually giving birth, but sometimes after giving birth, or depending on how your size is, and they might feel comfortable. So where is that gap? Do you just focus on people who are pregnant, who are going to get pregnant? Or are you going into the gap of people that might buy maternity wear because of the fit or the comfort or other situations that's not maternity? Let me break some statistics for you. At least 26% of people or shoppers are buying maternity wear and they're not even pregnant. Tell me, what is that called? It's called the gap peeps. And what happens is that brands, not independent brands, but actually larger brands, are taking note of this. And they're actually saying, how can we get to that gap? Now, if you see how the industry is going right now, you'll see that a lot of the middle-sized and large-sized companies are kind of going out of business. So what does that say? That says you have an advantage as an independent designer or brand to really capture the gap of people. Now, if you understand who your target market is, this is really simple. So I'll give you an example. Our target market with the 2Ps and apothecary can range from either 28 all the way to 62. It's a great, huge gap, right? However, it's a certain type of 28-year-old and a certain type of 62-year-old, right? So what do? We take the medium, the little chunk in the middle, and that chunk in the middle rounds up to what? Let me do the math for you. From age 37 to 44. Now you're probably thinking, like, how did I get that number? Easy, it's right in front of you. If you see the demographics of the products of what the products of your people or your customers are actually buying from your competitors, it automatically comes up. Here's a little quick way that you can do it. Go on Facebook or go on Google. Actually, go on Google. And I want you to type in something similar that you sell. Anything. So for us, we can do teas, spices, we can do all kinds of stuff, products for pets, whatever it is. Now, the world that we live in today, what's going to happen? Your competitors are going to come up because they think you're shopping for it. And what does this tell you? As soon as it comes up, it's going to give you all the recommended brands and all the recommended people and how you have that correlation of who's buying and how they're buying and when they're buying. The gap of peeps is powerful. So remember, I want you to go ahead for this week. I want you to think about the gaps that you have of people, potential customers that you can rebirth and kind of pick their brain. Use the scenario as the maternity brand. Because what happens is that you are not marketing directly to the obvious. Duh, they're pregnant. They might not even want to wear maternity clothes, or they will wear maternity clothes. But let's look at the non-obvious. What are the maternity, just because it's called maternity, there could be some other facets or factors that might make it comfortable. So the gap peeps is a number one, especially when using your advertising to kind of talk to these potential customers. Let me give you another idea, another suggestion for your brand. So let's think of the birth of potential customers to another extent. Let's go based on the feeling. Emotions are something super, super huge in branding, because this is why lots of different companies think about the colors, the fonts, and the way that their taglines really correlate to their customers and how to make them feel. Remember if you've done classes with me, or if you've done the boot camp, or if you're new, I always talking about choosing your colors that correlate to what you want to express in your brand. So look at McDonald's, or look at all these different Nike, look at all these different brands that we look at, and the colors make you feel a certain way and might grab your attention, or might think of something, or it might make you feel glamorous. Take, for example, Tiffany's. So I want you to think about that for the gaps of peeps, the emotional factor. the emotional factor of how does this person make you feel. So again, I'll give you an example for our brand. People, it's known that tea and coffee is something that's, especially tea, is to be shared with someone special, or someone that they want to spend time with. Having tea time is actually really, really huge in Europe, especially in London. They actually designate a time specific for tea time, and they make it a ritual. So the mindset already can correlate that tea is something that you sip, you relax, you can curl up with a book, you might wake up in the morning, get energized with tea. So tea, when you say the word tea, there's a correlation of how the emotion of what makes you feel. How does it make you feel? Now, when you think of coffee, there's lots of buzzwords, but the number one thing that people have said is that when they think of coffee, the word is boom, energy, buzz. You know, they want to get either caffeinated, they want to get hyper, they want to feel like they're getting things done and they need their cup of coffee. There's loads of jokes on the, in cyber world about how does people make it when you say the word coffee. So I want you to think of the gap in the emotion factor from your products and services. So for us, we can use tea and we stage all these different emotions of how people feel with tea. Because sometimes you might not be a tea lover, but if you're really stressed at work and you just want to come home and relax, or you cannot get to sleep, or you have a lot going on in your nerves, or you have high blood pressure, that is the emotion that we will gravitate to sell you a certain type of tea. Now remember, you might not even be a you might not even be a tea drinker, but those are the gap peeps. So you have to understand what are your gap peeps and the emotional factor of your customer. So let's move on to the next birth of potential customers, and that is the occasional peeps. The occasional peeps. So I'll give you an example. Sometimes when you're scrolling online and you're just like, I don't even know what this is. What? Google does the work for you. And in fact, the computer's doing the work for you. And this is why in my Pay to Play, if you haven't taken that, it's that course, it's called Pay to Play. It's you have to literally pay to play to actually get your stuff out there, to get your ads out there, it's not like how it used to be that you can just have a great following and your following will see it. Now you have to literally pay for ads in order to get a wider demographic. So let's go into the occasional peeps. The occasional peeps could be people that are gravitated through really awesome advertising, really cool blog posts, really cool graphics, really cool marketing campaigns. These are potential customers that kind of land on your brand through something else. And this is why it's super important to think about several marketing campaigns in your brand throughout the year. Now, there's 4 seasons, and some decide to do 4, some decide to do 1 per month, some decide to do 6 per year. That is totally up to you, depending on how many collections you are launching within the year. However, what's really good about the occasional peeps is that 36% of these occasional customers will convert to long-standing customers. That is freaking huge. What? Are you writing this down? That is really, really big. So an occasional person can end up being a long-term customer, which they can do business with you for a minimum of 2 years to up to 10 years if you really take care of them. Now, these are the people that are really landing onto your tag for tags, or your joint ventures with your bloggers, or from your blog posts, or from your really cool animated graphics that you have that they catch on somewhere. These people are the occasional customers. Now, are you marketing to them? Think about it. Are you really marketing to them? Every single time I'm thinking about putting something out to the internet or in social media or an email campaign, I always think about the occasional peeps. The wording is that they don't know you. The occasional peeps is that they want to understand who you are. So it's super important to, when you're doing your graphics, is really put a kind of who am I, without really having to go through a long drawn out who you are as a brand, but something that connects them and hooks them into, I want to know more about that. So really get creative with your wordplay, really get creative with your value and your offer. And remember, in order to get the occasional peeps, you don't always have to be putting out sales, because that's not what occasional peeps look for. They look for, I want to know more effect. So I want you to think about the birth of potential customers and what we spoke about in this first part of the video. Now, the next video is going to be called The Art of Consumer Behavior. And this is actually my favorite. In college, I took about 2 courses about this, and even after college working in corporate America, I was able to really put this into play, and then even after that. So some of you might love psychology, and some of you are probably love the behaviors of how people react to certain things, which is the psychology of actually buying. But I like the art of consumer behavior because it's really gives you, it's kind of like a game, and it changes so often, and there's so many different factors. So that's coming up in the next part 2 video of this. But for right now, I really want you to just take back. I want you to look at the birth of potential customers, and I want you to look at the gap peeps and the occasional peeps. And I want you to write down different elements that you can try. And if you have any questions, go ahead and email me. But stay posted, because we're going on to the next video. Hey, okay, so I hope you had all your information down for the part 1 video for birth of potential customers. This is part 2, so if you didn't watch part 1, go back. If you feel not comfortable yet, go back to part 1. It's super important, before I continue, to let you know that every single part of these videos, you have to understand them and you have to put them into play. The only way that it will be successful if you actually go into action and you have a little action plan. Again, if you need any help, please, my email is below, branding@fashionisabusiness.com, and please ask me if you need anything to elaborate or to accommodate your brand. So let's get started with the art of consumer behavior. There are 2 elements to this video. The first one is spending days and behaviors, and the next one is who's shopping for who. Yeah. So the first one is the art of consumer behavior. If you're not familiar with what consumer behavior is, these are the factors, the psychology of how a customer, consumer, whatever you want to call them, how do they react to their buying? There's all kinds of different types of people. Some hate to shop, some love to shop, they're obsessive compulsive, some actually only look for deals, some are all about value and quality, and then the other was like, I don't care, whatever comes, whatever, whoever, you know? And those sometimes you will know by your target market. So let's go into the spending days and behaviors. Every customer has a behavior of who they shop. Now, your target market can be completely than her target market, even though you sell the same thing. And I will go ahead and break it down for you. So we, the 2 Ps in Apothecary, our brand, sells specialty items, meaning that these could be a need and a want. And it's what I mean by it could be a need and a want. It's because a need, because some of our teas are absolutely great for your health. Actually, they're all great for your health, but it's a need where some people use the natural factors to heal themselves, and a need because they cannot find certain spices in the store without MSG or without salt in their specialty. So we have what's called a specialty, just like I did with Fabulous Designs. It's a specialty, it's resort wear, right? And then so there is a factor for specialty. I will give you another example for fashion. The wedding industry is a specialty. Lingerie is specialty. These are things that people desire and they like it and they need it, but they don't absolutely like, oh my God, I need a pair of shoes to walk on the street. Okay, and I'm not talking about Banana Blahniks or just some, pumps that, I'm just talking just the essentials. So when it comes to your fashion brand or when it comes to your brand, you have to understand the need and the want and understanding what is the actual spending days and behaviors. When you know your customer, you'll know this very well. How often does she shop or he shop with? Do they have a family? Do they have children? Do they have a budget? Are they budget conscious? Are they frugal? Are they do they like to overspend? Do they like to buy in bulk? These are behaviors that only you will know by asking your customers how often, or asking them open-ended questions through your blogs, through your interaction, and realizing what is your highest day of shopping. I'll give you an example. Our apothecary, our highest day of shopping is on a Saturday. Well, you would kind of think like, yeah, but our target market is a mom or an older person that probably has more time on the weekend, and they want to be able to make time to go online and shop. Plus, we do some pop-ups, and usually those are on the Saturday or Sunday. So that makes sense, right? But we send out our blogs on Tuesday. So that means between Tuesday and Wednesday, our volume, our traffic to our website is super high. So we can understand of when we would like to take those gaps of those spending days and that behavior and market to them when we know the probability of them to buy. Easy, right? No, because it changes. Write this down. You must know your economy. You must know where business stands. All right, so this is like Business 101 that I've learned a long time ago in college. And even actually after college, I learned even more because I understood that there's a lot of different effects that can affect people on how they buy. Number one, the stock market. It doesn't matter if you play in the stock market or you don't, because I honestly hate the stock market. I don't play in it. I don't really care about it too much, but I really do care. And I'll tell you why. Everyone on their phone, on your Apple, Android, whatever, you have what's called the ability to see the top 5 stocks that are always, there's Google, there's like the top 5 stocks on there. It will tell you exactly if it's an increase or decrease. The reason why this matters is because this is kind of like a little key pointer of where the economy is going. The stock market is huge. The next element I want you to think about is your industry's top factors. So a couple months ago, a lot of the large and medium-sized brands began to kind of fluctuate, and now they have completely closed, where it's telling you that where's the industry really going? Now it's not going when it comes to product, it's going against company and also value within that company. So I'll get a little clear from there. If you go to WWD, this is Women's Wear Daily, you will get all the business about where the fashion industry as a business is heading. This gives you an advantage as a brand of what you can bring in product. So there's a rumor saying that Victoria's Secret is going out of business soon, just like everyone else. I don't know it's true, I don't know, but they are definitely going to be closing a lot of branches, and this is because of how the industry is doing in that department. So now you ask yourself, is there an advantage for having independent brands to have intimates or undergarments? There might be, because guess what? Victoria's Secret is the only one, compared to La Perla, which is a really high end, it's the only one that really gravitates to a general public, right? So knowing these things can kind of let you know, hey, what are some products that I can go ahead and add on to my brand? I'll give you an example. If you've ever seen a wedding designer, at first they start with just bridal, and then they start to think, well, what is everything else I need to be doing about this industry? Because yeah, people get married, we would hope to think once time in their life, even though they get married more than once. But the people like to celebrate their union, and it might want to have a 5-year or 10-year. But how about the people that are coming to the wedding? How about people that are having bar mitzvahs or quinceañeras or having first communions? Now, not to say that they cannot broaden, but there's so much opportunity. And so that understanding those behaviors of people and what their life cycle lets you know that, hey, if you got married, a probability you might have children, or you might have X amount of celebrations to come, like anniversaries or whatever. So it's kind of predicting the behaviors of what they will spend on, right? So you know that if you have customers with children, they're going to be celebrating birthdays. They're going to get older. They're going to get married. They're going to be going on to vacations and all these different things. So what are the needs that they have and what are the needs that they need? These are behaviors. So understanding those predictions, you can get them from the stock market and from WWD. And what I'm telling you is that when the stock market is going, you need to think about how to position. And then in the upcoming chapters, we're going to talk about residual income, which is super important in fashion because you cannot just think about product for trade. So let's recap. We have the spending days and the behavior. Again, spending days. When do they shop during the week? When do they do their grocery shopping? When do they shop for things that they like? Sometimes they're randomly online and they just want to click on something. When do they get paid? How do they get paid? Once a month? Twice a month? 3 times a month? Every week? Maybe they're just only entrepreneurs. I have a designer who her clients are entrepreneurs. So the behaviors could go up and down because they don't necessarily get paid every 2 weeks like everyone else. These are spending behaviors that you need to know. If you have an older customer, you know that they might be on, some of assistance or Social Security or whatever the case is. You need to understand the behaviors and how people spend and, do they stock up during the summer for your product, or do they buy only your product during the winter? Do they buy it in bulk? How are you understanding the spending days and behaviors of your customer? Part 2. Who's shopping for who? So, growing up, and this is just growing up, I think that my mother bought everything in the house except groceries. Isn't that crazy? My mother did most of the shopping for everything. I mean, she would shop for house things, she would shop for clothes for my father, for all of us. But she wouldn't shop for groceries. My father did all the groceries. Every Thursday, he would go to Publix or Winn-Dixie or whatever, and he would shop for us, and he did the groceries. Pretty rare, right? Because usually they would think that the wife does it and all kinds of things. But nope, not in my household. So here's the who's for shopping. How does the household of your customer shop? Does she shop? Does he shop? Does he go on his own? Do you sell a product that maybe you need to be targeting to the husband instead of the wife so that the husband buys it for the wife? Are you marketing your information so that the kids kind of tell their parents that they want it? Interesting, right? So I'm going to let you know, when I had Lost Sewing Cafe, the kids' fashion design and sewing place, I was really targeting for the kids. My marketing was towards the kids because the kids would be like, Mommy, I want that. Mommy, I want that. Mommy, I want that. Mommy, I want that. Right? And what happens when they say, Mommy, I want that? Mommy's going to be like, okay, get out of my ear. So my marketing niche was actually to market to the children with my graphics, to all these things, because the children were really shopping, if you think about it, because they always want to do things. They want to do summer camp. They want to do all these extracurricular activities. Just like with these car companies. Do you think they're actually targeting, some of them are actually trying to market the female? Because usually a high percentage, which I wish I really had the exact statistic, but usually it's the husband, or if they're in a marriage, the husband has to consult with the wife to get approval, so make sure that they can do the buy. I don't know the statistics. I wish I could, but they are high. So they really try to market it to the wife, so the wife is sold because they know that the guy's going to automatically be sold. And that is actually information was from Volvo and Volvo and Volkswagen. Volvo and Volkswagen. Whew, there you go. So it's important to understand who's shopping for who in this scenario, and what your product and service is, who you could be doing what's called switched gender roles, and switched roles of who's actually shopping. So if you want the husband to buy this for the wife, your marketing campaigns or your ads or anything that you do, your hashtags, or when you're kind of doing some bloggers outreach, or when you're doing some joint ventures, you should be doing it with men so that they can purchase it for their wives. And not only do this only on holidays, when it's like Father's Day, or when it's all these, no, you should be doing this on a regular. If you sell jewelry and it's something that maybe it's a his and her, you should be targeting it to the man, because you know she's going to fall in love with it if she's a jewelry, but how are you going to get him to do that? So it's really understanding who's shopping for who and how to make sure that you're understanding the roles of the household. If she's single, is she dating? Where does she date? Is she dating online? Is she dating locally? You will know all this from your customer merely on how she shops and what does she shop for. It's really, really easy to know that. When I walk into a place and I always ask if what's your bestseller on something? And they automatically tell me what their bestseller. I automatically know why that's a bestseller. You should automatically know what's a bestseller and why they need it. Remember, sometimes it's not the actual item of what you're selling. It's also an emotion, a value, or wanting to be a part of something, or just to make someone happy. A lot of products and services, we all sell the similar things. Every single brand. You sell maybe a pair of shoes or pants or whatever, and someone else sells the same thing. But it is different. And it's very different. And the way you'll know this is the way to really understand your target market and how they shop. So let's recap. The art of consumer behavior. Remember, we have spending days and behaviors, which don't forget the economy is super important in understanding where you fall because, of course, if you're getting things made or you're getting things shipped, you need to know if these taxes are going to affect you. And the next one is who's shopping for who. How are you going to market your customer by understanding who's really putting out the money? All right, so in the next video, we're going to be talking about old school fresh social media style and kind of if I showed you old school techniques that you can use online. Yes, and these are proven, so watch out for the next video. It's going to be a part 2 video and we're going to really talk about the social media style, but old school style, taking it way back like when there was no cell phones. Yes. And I'm going to give you some really, really cool tips on how to really get your brand out there without actually having to sell yourself. So stay tuned for the next video. All right, so far you've gotten a lot of information. And I always say this to lots of my clients and I say to them, it takes time. Everything takes time. Don't feel overwhelmed. This is a lot of information, but you have to be able to take this information and start to put it into play because that's the only way that you're going to see results. Remember, action gives you results, not just taking this information, you're writing it down and saying, oh, great, now what do I do? Or saying, oh, this didn't work for me. It didn't work for you because you just did it one time. You got to keep going. And this specifically, we're talking about old school fresh social media style techniques. And this is probably from everything I talked about besides the target market is the most consistent because you have to remember we are in a time now where social media is huge, but it is not the only way to capture your new potential customers or to get sales. So let's continue on this video. So the first one is going to be hang out and connect. And part 2 video is going to be discover and deliver. Let's break this down. Okay, so the first one is hang out and connect. How many times have you gone out and it can be casually? I mean, you could be at a wedding, you can be at dinner, you can be in line somewhere, and you just happenly to talk about your brand. Well, I don't know if you do or if you don't, but I do all the time. It just happens to come out in conversation because, my brand is a huge part of who I am and what I love to do. And when you're passionate about something, it comes really easy for you to talk about it. I know when I speak and I talk about fashion and people, they're like, oh, they think it's so glamorous. I actually break it down and I tell them all the things that I love about it and what I do and the sourcing or the branding aspect of it. And it's not as glamorous as people think it is, but for me, I'm very passionate about it. Or when it's helping people, or my book, or our apothecary, where, we are transforming people's lives just by what they're ingesting in themselves, through their, what they're cooking, and the love that we put into our spices, or the teas that we create. And so it's something that I'm passionate about, so it's really easy for me to talk about. And so what happens is that In social media, there's always a text characters of a certain amount that you can even say. So for Twitter, it's 40 characters or less, whatever. For Instagram, it's less than a minute. For Facebook Live, I mean, it can be forever and on, but the attention span of somebody is like less than 2 minutes, unless you're talking about something that, you know, that people are tuning in to hear from you for that. And so what's important about the old school social media is using social media tactics to just hang out and connect. I tell my customers, my clients all the time, are you on Meetup? Are you a part of groups? Do you do you do what your girl does? Meaning your customer. When I say do you do what your girl does, I'm talking about, do you do what your customer does? And let me break this down, because some of you might feel some type of way by this, and some of you might be like, yep, you got it right. Like, yes, it's so true. We love tea. I love tea. I love drinking tea. It's something actually in our culture, and I love coffee. And so when my wife and I are out, we love going to coffee shops. We pay for tea and coffee. I mean, we've been to some places and we've paid premium price for it because we just love it. We just like if it's having a glass of wine. So that is a part of who we are as a lifestyle. And what happens is when you do that, you get to see your customer a little bit better, and you get to see what the industry is doing and how to connect with people around you, right? So let me break it down for you. If you sell resort wear, or if you sell, swimwear, or you sell, let's just stick to resort wear. When's the last time that you've gone on a boat? Or what's the last time that you've actually been to a resort? You're probably like, well, have you been to a golf or tennis court? Have you gone to polo? Where does your girl go? Have you done what your girl does? How could you want your customers to buy from you if you don't experience that lifestyle? It's really easy. And there was actually a really big debate about this, because some people do not agree with me, but how can you know what your customer wants if you don't live the lifestyle, or not even live the lifestyle, or if you don't experience what your customer wants? If you are selling high-end or luxury, you should be buying high-end luxury, or you should be experiencing high-end luxury, because there's no way that you're not going to understand it if you don't experience it. Someone can tell you it's fabulous, but if you don't actually experience it yourself, you won't know if it's fabulous, right? It's super important. It's important to really know what is that first class experience. And going to these meetups, going out to doing what your customers do, you connect with your own customers. It's simple as that. It's having a conversation and going to someone is like, what's your favorite? I'm actually ordering. What did you order? Because that looks really, really good. You sparked a conversation. This is really good. I love this. Oh yeah, we sell tea and coffee too, or we do this, or we do that, or we sell this. It's going to come out automatically. And this is the number one old school fresh social media style. I mean, we do this all day long online, but we stay in this house. We stay in the house and we don't go out. We don't go to meetups. We don't go to maybe doing an experience on Groupon. You can go to Groupon if it's something that you want to do and it's not something that that's in your budget. Go to Groupon. They have tons of experiences. Go to Living Social has them too. You can actually go to maybe a really cool happy hour that has like a play or whatever your customer does, you should be experiencing, because you can connect with customers that way. I guarantee you that if you do that at least on a consistent basis, you can add a minimum of 5 customers per month, a minimum. And I'm not saying you have to go out every single night. You're like your customer. Do not take it that way, because I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that you need to experience what your customer is experiencing. If you know your girl loves wine, if she loves fine dining, if she likes to go out at night at certain places because she loves to dress up, and that's the reason why she's going, you need to go to these events too and see why does she want to wear this? Maybe she would want to wear that more than this, or maybe this is more flattering. Understanding, hanging out and connecting is the basis of creating relationships, because we have this wall, we have this block, we have these computers, that there's only a certain amount of limits of character that they can get to know you. They can't really get to know you or understand your brand. I have a client who, she has a team of people that does this for her, and they just connect, and she, once a month, she gets this team of people and they just go out. She doesn't want to go to these events. She doesn't want to do that, but she wants people who really understand her brand to give her that information. You have to hang out and connect. Hanging out and connecting does not mean to going to 3 in the morning. It doesn't do that. It means doing what your customer likes to do. Like I said, so she can go onto the boat, go into the beach, maybe going out to a certain restaurant, or whatever it is that you're selling, where your brand is. Maybe inviting people over to your house and having a dinner. Because maybe your customer loves to entertain and she loves to show off her jewelry, or she loves to show, talk about the things, or maybe she loves to show things in her house. And so she likes to invite people to her house. So you need to have something like that so you can understand that. Or even take it a step further and have people who might want to participate. The next one is participate and volunteer. The best way of really also is getting out there and participating in different elements and different organizations and volunteering at different places that you can get firsthand experience. I always tell everyone, no matter what college I went to, what university, I throw that out of the window. That is meaningless to me, because experience has gotten so much more than I could ever learn in a book. I can read so many business books, but it's actually putting them into play that I can say I can take that and put it into my experience, and I can actually get some results on that. So participating and volunteering and getting involved, there's so many organizations out there that are always doing some events for either a charity or to give back to the community. Why are you not involved in that? Why is your face not on there? Because the next time they're going to say, hey, I want you to be involved with us. I want you to get connected. Maybe it's even being on a board of a certain organization that you probably, that's, close to your heart. Maybe it's that you do children's wear and you want to go ahead and be a part of an organization that gives back to children locally or internationally. You have to be a part of different aspects so that you can use those techniques to really let your customers or your audience know that you are more than just selling your brand. You're more, and you are a person, and you're not a computer with 40 text or limit of 40 text or less. Okay? So let's jump into the part 2 video. Discover and deliver. Craft show events. All right, so how can I start this? Let me give you a little side story before we continue with this. When I first started Fabula Designs, I was in college, and I sold to anyone and everything. I even turned my living room into a store, and people laughed at me and they ridiculed me, and I really hustled. I mean, I can remember I hustled. When anybody told me to sell somewhere, I would go. I would knock on doors in South Beach and be like, you're selling my 2 dresses in here. But what that got me was, I wasn't fearful of people. I was comfortable about talking about my brand without sounding like I'm selling, and opening a new door, a new foundation for my brand, and really seeing with my eyes rather than on a computer. And actually, back in the day, we didn't really have that. When we had Facebook, but it was only for college students. It wasn't like Facebook was open like it is now. So it was really different in the sense that we had it was very limited. It was old school. You're walking to buyers, you're picking up the phone, you're not emailing. And so what happens is that people get to connect with you. And we live in a world that it's like 30 seconds or less. Tell me what you got. But what's really good is that there's still a huge amount of customers that rather feel, touch, and see their product. And this is why you need to know who your customer is. Because there are thousands and hundreds and millions of events, live events, facing events. We're talking about art festivals, craft show events, fashion events, There's so many different events that actually have people coming through the door and buying. And pop-ups are actually very successful, more than it could be more than online sales, depending when you're starting your brand or when you're in that. And not only starting, because there's gaps in your brand. I mean, you could be doing your brand for 20 years and there's always going to be gaps. There's always going to be highs and lows because you constantly have to keep promoting to your customers. You have to constantly find new ways. So the best way is this old school fresh style is filling in these gaps through events where you physically see your customers. They can feel, touch, you can get testimonials, you can get opt-ins, you can get reoccurring, you can meet people, you can go on tours. And now many people ask me like, well, how do you do this? How do you even go about? It's easy. You start where you're at. I don't believe that you can run before you walk or you crawl. I mean, you could probably bust your butt. This is why babies crawl. Usually they do it in this order. Usually some are just, excel, but there's ways of crawling, walking, and then running. And that's what you have to think about in your brand, because everything comes in the divine timing. Everything comes when it's supposed to come. But you start where you're at. You start with your town, you start with your city, you start with your state, you start with your country. You start where you're at and seeing, because your customer can surprise you and actually go to these events. They can actually go to these boat shows or these art festivals that are huge, these wine and art festivals that are humongous all over the world, where there's an opportunity for you to sell your brand at least once or twice a year. You doing a craft show or an event or an art fair or something of that sort, people can come and you're getting onto this. Remember, we were talking about the occasional people, your occasional peeps of your customers. This is where you will get your occasional ones, and they can end up being your long lasting, because they met you, because they see your product, they smell it, they feel it, they connect with your energy, and they want to say, I want to be a part of your family. So discovering and delivering, discovering where are these gaps. So you look at your calendar for the year and you say, these are the pockets of time when I'm the most slowest. So we all know that the holidays are something super big, but what happens is that January, people just went shopping, so they're usually like, I don't got no money, right? However, right away it's February, which is Valentine's, and then that's when everything starts. So looking at the gaps of where you can actually say, I want to do at least 2 events for the year. 2. You can fill in those gaps easily and say to yourself, this is where I can bring in a certain amount of clientele, which is the occasional peeps, so that I can upgrade them and I can keep them on for future. So I want you to look at, in your state, in your city, email me at branding@fashionisthebusiness.com. You can tell me what your city or state is, and I can actually help you and develop and give you a list, a personalized list if you'd like, at least of top 10 places that you might want to look at and kind of gear you in the right direction. But the number one thing is you need to be open-minded. And guess what? Another thing you need to do is that if there's no events that's going on, then you need to create an event. That means you need to go and create your own pop-up. Knock on someone's door and say, you know what? I love your brand and my customer shops here and I know she's gonna like your stuff and my stuff. Guess what? You can't say no to bringing customers. I'm gonna email my list locally. You can email your list locally. We'll have a shebang on a Sunday. Mazel tov, right? So it's super important to understand where are these opportunities instead of only relying online. Remember, you have to pay to play. It's not like it used to be. So why not pay to play online and in person, where people can like, know, and trust you, and they want to do business with you. They want to connect with you. They want to see how glamorous your brand is, or how beneficial your brand is, or how they've been missing out and maybe making their life easier. So remember, you have to be open-minded to these social media, this new social media style, and remembering to leverage social media online, but also leverage you physically in person, in living color, to connect with people. So get ready for our next pair video. It's called Mixed Media. And we're going to be talking about two elements. And these elements is all about media. And I'm going to really talk about one of my favorite platforms for press, and also kind of some tools and ideas of how to get you started, even if you're a little shy. So stay tuned. We're back. So I want to take a little pause and a little break, and I want to say, awesome, you've made it this far so far. Don't worry, we're almost done. But I want to let you know that I want you to give yourself a just like a pat on the back. Because you've come this far, you've invested into this, branding juice, and you've really wanted to capture and captivate different ways of how to grow your brand in your business. And I wanted to keep telling you, keep investing in your brand. Keep investing in your brand from a mindset, but also from a faith. And also it's going to come financially, because what's going to happen is that it's not just financially with money. I'm talking about with time. Just sitting here and watching all these videos and making notes and emailing me, whatever, that alone is saying that you want to grow. Every week I kind of have these little moments with myself with my own brand, and I'm constantly reading. I mean, I read so many articles in a week about just not even about business. They're just about different entrepreneurs and their journeys or different products. And I learned so much, and I'm always asking questions, and I'm always trying to think of different ways of people to understand what our brand and why we're so passionate and why they would love our brand. And that's something that you should be doing constantly to really let people know that you are here to stay, and what makes you different. So I want to talk about one of my favorite, and it's not even a secret. Some people might take this and they keep it a secret, but I'm not keeping this a secret, and I never have. But I want to break this down because it's called hireareporter.com. Hireareporter.com, this website is golden. And when I first started Fabula Designs, I used to pay $1,000 a month for my PR. Yeah, it was a good chunk of change, right? And she got me some really good press and for Fabula Designs, but not even merely as close as what I've gotten with hireareporter.com. And we're talking about this part of press is not about that you're going to get a return on investment today. And this is what happens. We live in a world where you want press and you want 5,000 sales tomorrow. It does not work like that. It is a matter of fact of building your press and building your portfolio and building your name so that people you're on everyone's blogs and everyone's TV networks and whatever the case is, because the more you're on others' platforms, that's the more you'll trend, and that's what brings sales. HireAReporter.com is gold, and I don't get paid for this. I'm not an affiliation with them in any way. I am just a true believer because I've gotten so many different opportunities through the platform. Now, when people go on HireAReporter.com, they might say, oh, there's nothing on here for me. I can't get my brand out. They're not talking about fashion. Hello. Let me give you a reality check. When reporters are looking for information, they're not going to necessarily say, what are we wearing for the summer? Or they might not say that, but they might say, what helped we need experts to talk about self-esteem. We need experts or people to talk about new trends for for winter, or something that you might not even think, but you have an expertise. I want you to write down right now a list of your expertise and your experience in all random things. All right, so let's do that right now. We're going to 2 lists: expertise, experience. When I say expertise, it's because you're a subject matter expert in these certain things. That means that you have dominated it. So for me, I will have to say for certain expertise, there's a lot of computer programs that I've used like in business and I'm really good at. Like there's a project management one that a lot of people don't know. There's some sales Infusionsoft and some just back end random things that some people might know, might not know. So those are my expertise, and I have fashion and sourcing, blah, blah. my experiences of things that I've done for at least, a long period of time. And again, it could be random things. It doesn't have to be relating to what you do. What happens is that HireAReporter.com has a list of things that they express. They have a list of information that they send out for press. And what happens is that they are asking for people who are experienced or have information to say. So even you're not selling that, you have an experience in it, you should apply for that position. You should pitch your story to them, because what's going to happen is at the end, they're going to ask you who you are. And that's when you talk about your brand. That's when you talk about what you do. I'll give you an example. So we had, there was one that we applied for our brand, and it was summer essentials. There you go. It was like, what are people using for summer essentials, and we need some ideas of what to do for the summer with your kids, your family, whatever. And I think one had to do with cooking essentials too. And we're not chefs, but we sell really awesome spices. So guess what? We pitched it. You can grill it and fry it or whatever. And guess what? They replied, they want us to send them a sample so that they can try it, of course, before they write about it, because they're not going to write about something. But it didn't say, people, do you sell spices? No, because this is press that goes into all different categories, from the New York Times to the Huffington Post to Cosmopolitan to you name it, the Washington Post, all different types, the Dr. Oz show. There's so many different ones. So knowing what your expertise and experience is, when you get these emails, so you go into HireAReporter.com, you get these emails, and it's going to say, looking for a story on someone about relationships or whatever the case is. And maybe your experience is that you went to school for, maybe your back end is psychology of something. Maybe you did a thesis on it. Maybe you've interned at a psychologist. I don't know. It doesn't have to be fashion. And that's the part that I need you to understand. What makes you you is everything that's not just fashion or just your brand or just your business. I discovered the other day how much I really enjoyed pottery, or I wanted to change my lifestyle because I really would love to be creative, but I love helping people. And so and I have different channels to activate that. But doesn't mean that it's just fashion. So what are other things that make you you? I want you to use these expertise and experience and write them down on a list. So when you log on to HireAReporter.com and you go those emails and you go through it, you're like, oh, I can totally apply for this because I know about that, or I know about this. And guess what? Then you highlight your brand, and that's how you get press. The part two is introduce yourself. International connections are the most valuable, because what happens is they love brands from the US. They love it. They thrive on it. They feel a sense of connection because they want to be able to inspire or aspire their international clients. And so what happens is that thinking outside the box of going to a Barnes and Nobles and going to the magazine section, and I've actually done this myself, so I can only tell you what I've done. Gone to the magazine section, and of course, a lot of these magazines, you won't see it at a regular supermarket because most of them are international. I go in it, I open the front page, and it tells me the editor, and it has the email of the editor. What do you think that I did? I emailed those editors, and I sent them a personalized press release about whatever it is that I wanted to talk about, or whatever it is that I wanted to inquire, or opening up an introduction to just tell them about my brand. Have you done that? Have you gone to a Barnes & Nobles and done that? These are things that you're thinking outside the box, just going to these magazines and saying, I want to be in this magazine, or usually sometimes next to the articles, there's an email of the actual writer. Online, if you go to your Sun Sentinel or whatever your local newspaper, whoever name wrote the actual article, if you click on their name, it will take them somewhere where they're either their email, or you can find them easily on Facebook, because now you can find them there, or on LinkedIn, and you can connect with people. Don't wait for press to come to you. You go and knock on the door and make these international connections, because you will be surprised you will find and who will be interested in your product or service. So let's recap. Expertise and experience, make sure you have your list, and get on hireareporter.com. No, they do not pay me for telling you this. That's how good it is, and it's really good. From hireareporter.com, I was able to build a relationship. I was able to be on the Dr. Oz show, and also not only be on it once, but twice, and able to have more relationships for other things. By the way, I wore my brand on there, so that's like a double whammy, right? So part 2 is introduce yourself to international connections. Go think outside the box. Go to these magazines. Get outside of the house. Go to, if it's a certain bookstores, or you can go ahead and Google different places, but magazines are the greatest to start, because these international magazines always love to have US connections. And make yourself an organized list of how are you going to constantly, every single week, have one day to do press things. Or even when you go on hireareporter.com, make sure that you reply right away, because it's always about who is the quickest in press and where they can work on these stories and who they can get this information from the quickest. So any questions on this, you can email me, branding@fashionisabusiness.com. And we're going to go next into one of my favorites, which is the Lucky 4s and 7s. And it's about multiple income streams in your brand. And I want to walk you, this is actually going to be one of the longest sections. So please get a cup of coffee, or you can go ahead and take a break and come back to this, because you need to be really refreshed for the Lucky 4s and 7s. This is basically, there's 2 parts to this, the needs versus the wants, and model and funnels. And I'm going to really walk about residual income. I'm going to break down what is residual income. I'm going to break down what are income streams, why you need to have them, and how you can start them, and how it's possible, and how it does take a lot of time, but it's worth it, because what's the biggest thing is that you don't want to always have to trade time for money, or you don't want to trade your product for money, because as you grow, you want your business to be automated. So that will come up next. And so we're going to take a break, and I will see you very soon. Okay, we're back. So we took a little break. I hope you have your pen, your paper, and all your information, because this one is Lucky 4s and 7s. It's actually one of my favorites. Now, when I worked in corporate America, wow, I learned a lot of things from them, and a lot of it had to do with automation and the way that their business was run. Now, it's really cute. I was really curious lately, because, in fact, this week went out to eat, and they have these little portals where you can actually pay, and I actually never seen that. And I know probably be like, what? That's been around for a while. But guess what? That is my prime example of how businesses are really trying to be automated, and how they're adding different platforms of adding Lucky 4s or 7s. So let me jump into Lucky 4s and 7s. Now, they say you should have at least 7 streams of income into your business or your brand. Now, in a fashion brand, I've seen up to 3 or 4, sometimes 7, but depends. Mostly it's about 3 or 4. And so these could be correlating to your fashion brand, or it can be correlating to your expertise, like we made that list, or your experience. And so I'm going to give you a lot of examples of how to dig deep and how to go step by step and walk you through this. So really, really pay attention. So the first one is needs versus wants. I want you to make a list of needs and wants. It can be many things that from your list that you made of your experiences and your expertise, but within your brand. So are there needs and wants that your customer would like? If you don't know this question, all of the information that we talked about in the previous videos, like going out and exploring and asking the questions, or doing some live surveys and interviewing people, will give you a really good indication of what are the needs and services. Now, you might not have to do all that, because you could probably sit home in the comfort of your home and just Google it, and you'll basically see the needs and services, needs and wants based on what people are usually buying or what's really out there. Now, I want you to remember, I don't want you to try to recreate something brand new and invent something. No, I want you to recultivate. Write that down. Do not recreate. Recultivate. I'm going to give you a story about a CEO who actually, she's 30 years old and she actually just sold her business to Airbnb. Now, if you don't know what Airbnb is, it's kind of like house sharing where you can rent your rooms or you can rent your home for, travelers. Instead of staying at a hotel, they'll have the luxury of having the full house, amenities of a kitchen or pool or view or whatever the case is. Now, we all know that in the hotel industry, you're kind of limited, right? So you kind of see that coming because in hotels, you only have a certain amount. Only if you pay a certain amount, you can have a view, or it could be pricey or whatever the case is. But with Airbnb, the homeowner is the person who's in charge of what the price is, or the person who's renting out the rooms, etc. So this nifty girl said, I love Airbnb. I love the concept. And she knew that her customer was a traveler. Now, as a traveler herself, she knew every time she traveled to these countries, she wanted to see more. And she realized that she wanted to go on tours and they were really pricey, one, inconvenient, two, and most of them were people that probably learned the tour through a book or they probably weren't natives. And if they were just giving you all of the touristy stuff. Right? So she created this business and she said, no, I'm going to pair travelers with people that actually live in the country, who work in the country, who are students, who are professionals, who are travelers themselves, to give these tours one-on-one. Now, to some people that might think like, is she onto something? She was absolutely onto something because she sold her business to Airbnb for $30 million. Now, did it happen overnight? Absolutely not. She actually did a lot of beta testing in 2 countries, and one specifically in Spain, where she held residents to understand how could this work, because she had to understand the minds of travelers, not just from her perspective, but the European perspective. So let's go back up a little bit. Your needs and your wants are not just about what you need and your want. It's about what your customers or potential customers or maybe an open market might want. So do not try to recreate something, recultivate it. I'll give you an example from my personal experience. When I had La Sewing Cafe, it was mostly for kids' fashion design and sewing. No one had this. In fact, it was actually a monopoly. Very few people really wanted to teach kids because, one, they didn't have the patience for it. But I wanted to do something a little bit more. I didn't want to just teach kids how to sew. I wanted to change them and how they thought sewing was not just about an act, but also an art and a confidence booster. So I began to see where the needs and wants from it. So here's a need. A need is parents need their kids to do something for summers and vacation time when they're at work and their kids are off school, right? That's a total need. Who's going to take care of these kids? And a want is also extracurricular activities for their child that they might be interested in. And with the whole Project Runway was booming into TV, kids were totally inspired. In fact, many schools are now opening with art schools and extracurricular activities like pottery and not just music. And so this was a great addition. So instead of me trying to recreate the invention of sewing, I recultivated the needs and wants. Now, there are different aspects of what an multiple income stream is. An income stream is something that comes in automatically every single month without you having to either log on or do too much in an automated world. I'll give you an example. Subscription boxes right now are super huge and they're a big wave. And Uber, Lyft, all of these things, we're coming in a world where people want things to be done. They want them to be a little bit more. They want luxury. They don't want to pay that much, but they want it quick and easy. And this is why you'll see lots of fashion. They're doing a lot of subscription boxes because people want to be able to pay X amount of money per month and it's already done. The thinking is done for them. But let's think outside the box. What are some other needs and wants that people might want or desire and they might want to pay for? You would be surprised how many people will pay for certain things because they want what's 2 things: convenience and the luxury. Luxury, not in just how beautiful it looks, but quality. So it's really important to understand what is that fast mentality? How can that go? Or maybe a slow mentality, and how you can add up to that. I'll give you an example. So let's say you're a brand that sells you sell resort wear. And I always refer back to resort wear because it's a really, it's a specialty niche. So sometimes it could be a little difficult. So you sell resort wear and you know your customer loves to travel and they love to go on vacation, so they buy a lot of your things, right? How about if you set up a sort of type of subscription box, which is called the Traveler, and it's already a predetermined suitcase that you actually prepare, and an actual suitcase that's included, and it's shipped to your customer with all the essentials for their weekend. Isn't that cool? Well, guess what? Rent the Runway did something similar. If you go to renttherunway.com, they started with having gowns and formal wear. Because what happens when you go to the store and you're trying to find something for a wedding or something formal, you can't find it, right? Or you're just stressed. So Rent the Runway say, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and put all these things, and you don't actually have to buy it. You rent it. Because guess what? What's the probability of you wearing that dress again? 0 to none, right? So Rent the Runway did something similar. So now their customers pay about $60 something per month, and they can pick all the garments they want, and they rent it and they ship it back and they never have to worry about it, right? Great deal. So let's go back to my scenario about the Traveler. This brand decides to say, guess what? I have 3 options for you: the weekender, the 2 weeks vacay, or the overnight stay, right? So you select. They can go online and pre-select exactly what they want. You pack it up for them and send them to their house, and that's it. They don't have to go to the store. They don't have to order online from 5 different places. They have their shoes, they have their tops, and they have an itinerary of wherever you're going. You can kind of give them some pointers. That's just an automatic idea right there, right? Who would not want to pay for that? Guess what? If you know your customer, they will pay for that. Because there's 2 aspects in people's lives that they are actually the most stressful. 1 is moving, and 2 is traveling. Now you're probably thinking, like, is traveling really stressful? Not really. It's not the actual getting there. It's not the actual location that's stressful. It's getting there. The airports, the car, the comfort. You know, if it rains, these are all things that can be stress factors for people when traveling, or stress factors when they're moving. So this is a good scenario to let you know that you don't have to recreate it, you have to recultivate it. The next part is model and funnels. Now there's 2 aspects to this. It's the cost calculator and the value. What is, and let's take a break. Before we continue, I would like to do 2 things with you. We're going to actually make a pyramid. So I want you to draw a sheet of paper, and I want you to put a pyramid. And I want you to put a $sign on the top and a $sign on the bottom. In the pyramid, I want you to put 3 lines. So now you have about 4 boxes, right? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or yeah. You only need 3, so however you put your lines is fine. I want you to put, for the top, I want you to put $3 signs. And in the bottom, I want you to put $1 sign. So this is going to be your cost calculator that we are going to go ahead and view it with your value. Now, value is super important because you need to know exactly what is the value. You can't have a service or an income stream and not understand what the value is, because you can't give someone a product or service. Well, this is, and let me back up, so sorry. The income stream is actually, these are mostly services unless they're attached with a product. And this is residual income that comes every single month, every repeat. Just like subscription boxes. So you can't give someone a value of $100 for their subscription and charge them $100, because the value there is just like what I'm already really paying for, right? I want value out of it. So you might want to give someone a $100 value of products in this service, and they probably are charged $20. Makes them feel good because it makes them feel that they're saving, and there's a value factor in there. So before we continue with our model and funnels, I want you to go ahead and look at this cost calculator. And I want you to put the top dollar that your customer pays, your top price of your product. What does that look like? The most expensive thing that you sell in your brand. And then on the bottom, I want you to put the least expensive thing that you sell in your brand. This is a cost calculator of value. That means that it should never exceed the top, and it should never it should never exceed the top, but it might be able to under your lower, depending on what it is. So let's stop there. We're going to take a break. while you go ahead and do your cost calculator and value. And then we're going to go ahead and start with the staircase to upgrading the growth. So I'll be right back, and while you go ahead and complete that. All right, we're back. I hope you wrote down the two sides that I was talking about for your residual. Let me just get my notes here, just to make sure. So we have the cost calculator and we have value. Now, let's talk about the cost calculator and value before we continue to the staircase to upgrading growth. The cost calculator is based on what do you want them to pay per month, per year, per quarter, or semi-annual. And then we need to understand what are you actually offering, because in this aspect, I like to work backwards. The only reason I like to work backwards is because if you are offering someone a service or something where it is semi-annual, you need to still do your cost to produce. How are you going to get these products, or what the time you're going to need, or what is consists of this product or service, right? So you work backwards because you need to understand what your cost to produce is, or your cost for your time, or whatever, if you're sending something, or if it's a postal service, or if it's you're collaborating with someone and you're doing something twice a year. You need to understand what those costs are so that you can make sure you navigate the right amount for your customer, the end result for your customer. Then you need to figure out what is the value, and how can you continue to grow that same subscription. So I'll give you an example. Stitch Fix is actually really huge. They send you kind of like a trunk box every month, trunk box every month, and they send you goods like fashion goods, and you kind of pick what you like and they send them to you. Now you can do this monthly, and they're going to be having other options soon. But they want to keep you as a member. So how are they going to be able to do that? It's by introducing either different brands or different like accessories or shoes or belts or whatever the case is, and that's how they're going to be able to evolve. So I want you right now, we're going to work on our funnel and the staircase to upgrading success. You're going to start with your first aspect of your service or your residual income model, right? And then you're going to have different phases. So you're going to have A, B, C, D, E. Let's just do to E right now. Because what's going to happen is that you want to convert this person into each part of your funnel. So if they start as a basic member of $10 a month, you later on want to say, I want them to be a $10 a month, but I want them to also buy every single month for me a minimum of $50. And on and on and on. Now, this is a little tricky. This one is a really tricky because what happens is that every product or service can be different. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to come up for ideas of your needs and wants, and I want you to email me, branding@fashionisabusiness.com, and I want you to tell me your 3 top ideas for residual income. It can be a service or it can be a product based on those needs and wants. And what you and I will do is we will have this one session where I will email you back with either a voice note or an email, and I will break down how you would break down your service with your fees and your growth, your staircase to growth. Now, I'm going to sit and give you I'm going to break it down right now before we move on to Juice Run. I want to break down the whole residual income and the importance of it. You are a brand, and like we were talking about the economy and the stock market and all the different aspects of what business works and relates to. The fashion industry is not something that is really high in someone's head. When the economy goes down, they really result to keeping their funds like little squirrels, and they don't really want to spend on fashion. They don't want to really spend on things that are just kind of frivolous to them, unless it's a need that they're just like, they makes them happy and they must want it. So you have to go with the needs and the wants of what people would want even when the economy crashes, or even if it's something that happens. How would they still want your service? Would they still want that product? Would they still keep you in their budget? Now, another thing is that you also need to look at your research of who else is doing something similar to you and how you can make it better. How can you be different? How can you provide it either faster, quicker, or added value, continue added value? So if you're thinking of a subscription box, like many people do subscription boxes, how are yours really going to be different? Really think about it. So for our end, we're doing teas and spices in one because we know there's tons of tea subscriptions boxes, but we wanted to do teas and spices and nices. Nices are the accessories that go with the lifestyle of teas and spices. We also wanted to make sure that the product value was over succeeding of how much they have to pay per month, in addition to keeping costs down on our end. So the first month, our subscribers get a nice box. They get a really pretty box. But every month after, they don't get that box. They just get their information and they just get their product in an actual envelope or another type of box. Because one, it keeps costs down for them, which we are completely honest and open with our customers to let them know that to keep the environment, keeping them healthy, and also keeping the costs down, we want to make sure that with our first box is A-okay and it's awesome, and every other month we'll send their goods in another type of box. But it helps them use their main box to use it as a storage, and also it's really pretty for the eye. Remember, every part of your subscription has to have an added value, and you also have to have a growth spurt. You want to be able to know if these people are being subscribers with you for at least 10 months, where are you going to take them on to the next level? Are you going to keep adding stuff and maybe try to upgrade them? Or are you going to recreate new things that you'll be able to sell to them as a regular customer and not just a subscriber? Meaning having them have added values like VIP clubs or free shipping. Now, the last thing I want to say is that we have a big boomer here. Amazon. Amazon is known for their exquisite and amazing service with shipping. I mean, you have Prime, you pay $100 a month, $100 a year, and you get 2-day shipping. How can you beat that as a small business? Easy. Added value, and creating a relationship with your USPS service, finding ways of how to eliminate costs so that you can still get it to them quick and easy, and finding alternatives where they won't even think about if they got their shipping quick. And to them, 4 days might be quick because another competitor might take 7 days. So really understanding these funnels. So I look forward to hearing from your email, branding@fashionisabusiness.com, and let's break down. I would like your 3 ideas and your list of your needs and wants, and I will go ahead, and once you propose that to me, we will break it down. See how awesome it is? I would love to give you some more examples, so please go ahead and email me, and we're going to do your 4 to 7 income streams. Now, before we close out this and recap, I want to tell you 4 to 7 income streams mean 4 to different types of way of income coming in. So I'll give you an example of how quick that could be. Online is 1 income stream, right? 2 could be a service. 3 could be pop-ups or events. 4 could be teaching, doing something where you're assisting other people with things that they have learned, that you've already learned, and helping them cultivate something. 5 could be building or restructuring of something for your customers, could be like from a styling aspect. But it doesn't necessarily have to be consumer-based, it could be business-based. Remember, dress for success. Lots of companies look for that. And the list goes on and on. So these are some just ideas of how quick you can have different income streams. So instead of just thinking of how you can only get sales online, only one way, no, there's multiple ways. So I look forward to hearing from you soon, and just a quick recap, needs and wants, and your model and funnels. See you soon for the next video. Juice Run. This is actually one of the most funnest, that's not even a word, right? You're going to have so much fun in this part of the branding juice because it's very interactive, and I wanted to be very, very interactive in this 8-week intensive course because I wanted you to get out there, and I wanted you to really see it and feel it and understand it, because it's the only way that you're going to come back and feel re-inspired. So I'm going to put your passion to the test, and yes, this means leaving the house, and this is what I call the interactive intensive. So because we are busy in our brands, but are we really being busy, or are we being productive? So for the first part is going to be Connect and Convert 21-day tour. For the next 21 days, you are going to go one day, every single day for the next 21 days, you're going to go to 21 different places. Yes, 21 different places, completely new. out of nowhere. It doesn't matter. It can be someone in your town. It could be a coffee shop. It could be anywhere. It could be a store you've never walked into. It could be golf store where they sell shoes. It could go into a resort somewhere. You're just going to go in, and these are some things that you're going to record. Ready to write this down? The I moment, like wow moment. Is there a wow moment when you walk into the facility? What catches your eye? If it's a good thing, write it down. This is called the I moment. What just catches your eye from a good or bad? The next one is you're going to interview 3 customers. So interviewing 3 customers, either inside or outside the store. When I say interviewing, you're asking them one question. What did you like? Did you see anything that you liked in that store? Or what did you like? Or isn't that a nice dress? Or really just capturing one question from them, one answer. I also want you to look at what the display and price positioning of the actual place that you went to. Now, I don't want you to go to a fashion store. I don't want you to go anywhere that has fashion. I want you to go to a spa. You can go to a car dealership. I want you to go anything but fashion. And the reason why this is because I want you to see how they use value, and I want you to see how the storyline of how their marketing is done in detail. So this is for the next 21 days. Now, if you miss a day, so as you go today and you don't go tomorrow, just make sure you do 21 days consecutively, okay? Very, very important. After you go ahead and look at the things that you saw, I want you to think of what can you use in your brand. So we're going to go out of range. Remember, not fashion. You can go to technology, you can go to the water company, you can go to the doctor's office, you can go to the local YMCA. It does not matter. A place that sells has a product or service. Now, when you do this list, you are going to see what are the top 10 things. Top 10. So remember, you have 21 places you're going. So the top 10 things, it could be from an I moment, it could be for pricing, it could be for display, 10 things. And what I want you to do is the 21 days, you're actually going to physically go to this place. The next 21 days after that, you're going to see if they have a website and you're going to compare. So you have 2 lists here. So let's say you walk into Shmomo's Eatery. You walk into Shmomo's Eatery, you see what the I moment is, if there's an I moment, you see what their display is, maybe their price, their value, whatever. After you finish your 21, the next 21 days that's going to come up, so this is going to take you about 42 days, you're going to go ahead and go on Shmomo's website and see if they have a website. If they don't have a website, then you put don't have a website. If they do, does it match the experience you walking online? This is huge because this will let you know if you're speaking the same language as your brand. If somebody walked into your establishment, are they speaking the same language as if you would go online? Super important. So let's recap for the juice run. The next 21 days, you're going to be going into the store, and then 21 days after that, you're going to research all the ones that you did to see if they have a website. Now, no cheating. Okay, so if they just happen to have a website, don't go on and have a website after. Do all the 21 first so that when you're done with the 21, your mind is fresh and you don't remember really all of them unless you go to the website and you're like, oh wow, they had this in the store, but they didn't have this online. This is key, the top 10 things of what you're going to add into your brand. You can go ahead and email me, branding@fashionisAbusiness.com, if you have any questions. Remember, this is all about action and planning and doing. So even if you want to implement something and you can't implement it, you can see all the steps of how to implement it. And if you have any questions, just let me know. All right, this is the last one, creativity with purpose. I hope that all the other weeks that you've been working on, I hope that you've done everything, you've been putting it to play. But the last one is and you know, in the main branding, just creativity with purpose is key. You know, how can your creativity grow with purpose and provide needs instead of just a pretty fashion this or just that? And how can you think outside the box and really create things that are really innovative and long lasting? So the part 1 of this video is going to be disconnecting. So for the next 7 days, I would like for you to disconnect. You're having what's called a detox from all social media and all telephone and all internet and all emails. Now, I know that this can make or break your business because Before you do this, warning, I want you to schedule all your social media like you should. Schedule it using Planoly or any other scheduler so that your social media is out there, so you're not MIA from your customers, so they won't worry about that. And then you will also leave an auto response for your emails, which you should already have an auto response, and you're going to be saying that you're on vacation of some sort. You can take it a step further, and you can actually hire someone for that 1 week to check your emails and reply for you if this is something important that you know you have customers coming in and out, but you physically need a detox. So for the next 7 days, you're going to be having a disconnected detox. You are going to get in tune with your creativity by disconnecting from anything that has to do with connecting with social media or internet based, okay? This means no text messages, no emails, no social media, nothing. I want you to literally disconnect and see what you do and pick up different things that you want to do for that week. Maybe it's you want to the time that you spent from the social media or aspect or learning or reading, go to the library, go to a bookstore, maybe go places to still get that information that you would get, but physically get out. So 7 days of detox, no nothing. As a matter of fact, I would tell my friends and family that you are actually taking a detox, and if it's an absolute emergency, to contact you and leave a voicemail. If you're waiting for something and it's super, super important, like your children or whatever, of course that is something important. But this detox is merely for you to be in complete solitude so that you can be able to connect. Get a glass of cold water, lemonade, drink a cup of tea, read, do something that makes you happy. The next thing is one with earth. Visit a national park, beach, mountains, somewhere that you've never been to where you live. Get a pencil, have a camera, and it would be really cool if you actually go to CVS, Walgreens, and get one of those old-fashioned cameras, the ones that you choo and click, you know what I mean. Get one of those, and I want you to just express all the feelings that you're walking around enjoying nature. So disconnecting and being one with the earth. Being one and really getting in tune with what do you see, what inspires you, what bird, what colors, because this can really spark your next amazing collection. So that is the 8 weeks of the branding juice, but we'll be right back because I have a few more things to say before we finish. So that was the 8 weeks of branding juice. Now, I really want you to do this. I don't want you to rush in it, and I hope you didn't rush in it, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you had gotten a lot of information from it, and I hope you really took a lot of these different scenarios that you can put to your brand. I do want to tell you that this 8-week branding juice was something that is ongoing, and as you learn and as you bring in new products, you'll be able to try these things out. But everything takes time, so consistency is key, and making sure you're not rushing and saying, I have to put this out and I have to put this out. Everything is one at a time. Making sure your house has all the cards on it before you can move forward. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and send me an email, branding@fashionisabusiness.com. I'm going to leave you with one thing. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you are working on your branding or not seeing all the results that you want, it's time to step back and do something different. And remember, it's all a mindset. If you tell yourself that you can't and you won't, then guess what? You can't and you won't. But if you tell yourself you can, you will, because the mind is over matter. The mind is super powerful. Remember, fashion is a business, but regardless if you're a fashion brand or if you're a consultant or if you're selling something else out of your back or whatever it is, it's a business, and you have to start to think about it, and you have to start remembering that it should be the number one focus besides anything, and that is also making sure that your customer connects with you, because when people like, know, and trust you, they do business with you. I hope you enjoyed and have a great day.